Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not yet. I'm starting now.
Thank you.
We should start at 12 then. Oh, I mean, every day. Yeah. I thought. Yeah. So I was just quickly trying. Yeah, we have some other Shobna. Yeah, if you can quickly.
Hi. Good morning. Yeah. I'm from India.
Oh. Yeah, I got it. Come on,
Okay.
I'm his auntie. I'm Abhinav's auntie.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the session. Thank you so much for joining in.
Jula auntie, yeah, that's my Atya. That's Shobhata. She's a principal in Bombay, for one of the schools over there. So yeah, she's also very like into all these kind of talks. So yeah, he joined too.
Wonderful.
Wow, what a lineage. No wonder. Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for asking your relatives to join, and that's an inspiration for all of us. So yeah, I think we'll get started now, and welcome all to this wonderful session that we were not able to wait for. As Srini was saying, that we are super excited to this session of Let Us Talk It youth series, which started last week, and we have a team of wonderful youths here who really, worked hard. They had a point that they wanted to share across. And so they had this topic, which is Biryani to Burger, Indian American teens' perspective. And as much as we want to know and keep it at humorous level and everything, but we do know that there is an underlying reality that the teens, the kids here especially faces every time, starting from the way their names are pronounced, or the food habits, the dating concept, choosing what they want in life, their careers, everything does have an effect. So why this session? Why to talk about this in a session or in a webinar? So this is what we found, what we know, that youths are the most important. They are at a very important stage of their lives, and this is the time they are learning to manage their emotions, relationships, acquire attributes and abilities that will be important for them to enjoy life, to assume their adult roles. And then if we can hear from their perspective, then we other teens or youths that are listening, they can relate to themselves or feel happy that there are people who are on the same boat. They also feel the same feelings that they feel. Whereas as parents, we can come out of our comfort zones and hear some viewpoints, take it as constructive criticism and work on them, or we can pat our backs and think, oh wow, we are doing a good job in these areas and we should continue to inspire, motivate. So having all this in mind, from inception to ending, the kids have worked really hard and they have come up with this topic. And for this webinar, we have, and even when I said, what do I use, to describe each one of you? And so Astha came up with this unique way. So auntie, let's use alliteration. And I thought that they came out for each other, beautiful ones. And we have with us today the all-rounder Aditi. She is a high school graduate. The adventurous Astha, who is also a high school graduate. The sensible Srishti, who is also a high school graduate. The assertive Adarsh, a high school senior. And we have the amazing Abhinav, who is a high school junior and the wisest of all, as the moderator. So over to you, Abhinav.
Thank you so much, Julian auntie, for giving all of us this opportunity. So presenting this very unique topic of Biryani to Burgers, and as auntie, talked about it, it gives us our point of view on the topics. So now I invite Adarsh to present the first slide. He will be talking a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Abhi. Thank you, Julianti. Well, hi, my name is Darsh Barki, and I'm going to be a senior at Troy High School next year. I love to dance. I was part of the ISA, which is Indian American Student Association, my freshman and sophomore year. I was Bollywood choreo my sophomore year, and I was also part of the Zahara competitive dancing team my freshman and sophomore year, and I'm going to be captain next year, so hopefully that goes well. I'm also part of the Troy Colts marching band. Troy Colts band. I was symphonic band last year. I played sousaphone for my last 3 years of high school, and I'm going to be drum major next year. So hopefully that also goes well. I was also in varsity swim for the last 3 years. I also have a great love for science, which is neuroscience and cardiology are my interests. And I was born in Karnataka, India. So yes, I do speak Kannada and not Canada. However, I do know other Indian languages such as Hindi and Telugu. I moved to America in 2007. I did not know a single thing about the place other than a bit of English, which I learned a bit before in India. The first half of my preschool, I couldn't understand anything people were saying. I was just fooling around, and now I'm here. I don't feel much of a change since I was little when we moved. However, there are several differences in terms of how these two cultures operate. In terms of my family living here, it's just my mom, my dad, and me. We maintain our Indian values by speaking our native language, watching movies, and celebrating our festivals. For American values, we'll live here to fit in. We speak English, watch movies, and enjoy their festivals with them and celebrate them also. So that's me.
Thank you so much for that, Adarsh. Moving on to the next slide. Now we have Aditi Kulkarni presenting.
Hi everyone, my name is Aditi Kulkarni, and I am going to be attending Michigan State University's James Madison College and Honors College in the fall with a major in international relations and a minor in Spanish. And growing up in high school, I was a theater kid. I did 3 years of lighting, 1 year of props, and 2 years as an officer. And hopefully in the future, I will be in the FBI working as an intelligence analyst and hopefully own my own cafe one day. And I was born and raised in America. I was born in Pennsylvania, and then I moved to Michigan when I was 8. And I was raised predominantly with American values, but I definitely do have a deep respect for Indian values as well. My family fully speaks Marathi. I fully understand the language, but I do not speak it myself. And I am definitely not as religious as the rest of my family is. But through these differences between my family in India and me here in America, I've learned to find a proper balance between both cultures. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Aditi. Moving on to the next slide. Now we have Asta Dalal presenting. On to you, Asta.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name's Asta Dalal. I'm 18 years old, and I will be going to MSU this fall as a freshman. I'm going to be in the Lyman Briggs College, and I'm planning on majoring in neuroscience. Like many other people in this chat, I am also a dancer. I have done the Indian American Student Association for all 4 years of high school, and I am also dancing inside school and outside school. So I have a youth dancer. I am into medicine, and that's where I plan on building my career in the future. So I participate in a lot of medicine-related activities. For example, I've done the Health Organization for Students of America, better known as HOSA, and I am also part of a lot of science fairs. So there's a few pictures on here with me presenting at a national science fair. Regarding where I was born in India. I am from Gujarat. So I speak fluent Gujarati and Hindi, and of course I can speak English. But I came here at a very young age. I think I was only 3 or 4 when I came to the US. So I've been also raised predominantly by American standards. My family, however, is very religious, and we follow a lot of Indian traditions. So I've kind of been mixed into both cultures equivalently. My parents have always kind of brought me up with the standards of being able to adapt. So we like to kind of mix and match the best of both worlds and come up with a lifestyle that has the good things about the American culture and the good things about the Indian culture. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Asta. So the next slide I will be presenting. My name is Abhinav Anand, and I'm a student at Troy High. I just shifted to Detroit, Michigan recently last year. I love dancing. I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer, and I love to act and sing. I was born in Los Angeles, California. And, when I was born there, I was born into a very Indian atmosphere. And my parents would take me, every Saturday, it would be a habit to go to the temple and witness all the pujas and rituals that used to happen over there. And then we made a shift to India. And over there, I learned a lot of languages. I can speak Marathi, Hindi, and Tamil. And, I learned so much about my culture and my traditions and our values from India. And now, since I've shifted to America, like learning to adapt to both has been like very interesting. And, having a good mix of both cultures, both values, and just, being on that path has been very interesting. Thank you. The next slide is going to be presented by Shrishti.
Hi, everyone. This is Shrishti Chilla. I'm a high school graduate, and I will be attending Wayne State University soon. My future plans include getting a PhD degree in neuroscience and psychology. Here are some of my hobbies, passions, and activities. Starting with art, I do a lot of digital art, pencil art, and 3D art as well. I also do a lot of dancing here and there. I did ISA, Indian American Student Association, and then I did classical and Bollywood within the club. I've also been on competitive dance teams, and I also am a board member of Intezar Dance Competition. Now, singing has been a huge, huge part of my life, and I've been doing many covers in many different languages, Indian, American, and also I do a lot of programs. Coming to my Biryani to Burger experience, I was born in India, but have been moving to USA and India on an on and off pattern. I have moved a lot of states within India and the USA. One thing is that it's a thing to move between states, and that's already tough. But to move to like whole different countries is honestly kind of struggling and struggleful, sorry. And it's kind of hard to get used to the environment and the changes and the schooling system, plus the people around me. But as time passed by, I got used to it. And now my kind of way of getting through change is to go with the flow. A simple coping mechanism for me would be spending time with family and doing all my hobbies that I've previously mentioned. Because I mean, no matter what changes, my family and my hobbies will stay and support me for hopefully a long time in my life. And speaking of family, my family has a broad mindset, and they have also brought me up with this kind of mindset. And while we do stick to our core Indian values completely, we do fully respect, and we mostly take upon the culture and values that we come across. So for example, we lived in Karnataka, we lived in Pune, which is Maharashtra, and we have taken up their kind of culture, their language, and we also came to USA so many times between Chicago, Michigan, Ohio, and we have this sort of set of culture bound around us that our mindset has just become more widened and open to anything that we come across. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Shrishti. Now I invite Asta Dalal to talk about the next slide.
Here, I will quickly interrupt and before Asta starts. So anybody who is joining in on our YouTube channel or Facebook, please do comment there, and don't feel hesitant commenting or asking a question to the youths, so that they also get a bit broader perspective. And if you have any your kids or teens who want to join, please join hands with us and email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. And you can also subscribe to our Let Us Talk It Facebook page and YouTube channels. Yeah, and you can put your questions here on Zoom in the chat box if you have any questions. Sorry about the interruption. Please carry ahead.
That's okay. So kind of coming back to the topic and a little bit about the title. So the webinar is called Biryani to Burgers, and the reason we've named it this is kind of to show the bridge between India and America. And as for us Indian American teens, we're kind of talking about how we met halfway on this bridge and how we've mixed cultures to kind of come up with a new and adaptable lifestyle. And so these are our viewpoints on the topics, and we completely understand if someone disagrees with them or has a different opinion, and we respect your opinions. So if you have something to say, if you feel differently about a topic, feel free to like write it out in the chat, or as Juan Auntie just said, you can write it on the Facebook chat or the YouTube live, anywhere you want to, but we will come back to them and kind of look over at other people's perspectives as well. We're just 5 teens, and even amongst the 5 of us, we did have some contradictions and some disagreements among some of these topics. So we understand that other people have other opinions, and we will respect them. Now, that being said, I'm going to give it back to Abhi, and he's going to start the presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Asta. So our Indian American perspectives, we've divided these into 5 domains, them being education, culture, relationships, society, and health. So for the first slide, I would like to invite Adarsh Barki to talk about education. The right side of the arc shows the positive aspect of the American culture, and the left side shows the positive aspects of the Indian culture. On to you, Adarsh.
Thank you, Abhi. Yes, I'll be talking about the positive peer pressure, which is on the right, that is positive for the Americans that we really found that was important. And this is where your peers or your friends urge you to do something or influence you in an educational setting. So in the education aspect of it, this is where the competition comes into play. Yes, there's competition in both places, in America and India, but this is more of a student body than anything else. There's a lot of construction criticism, and it's a healthy competition. There's always people trying to help you in education, and they really want to see you, everyone wants to see you succeed. So, which is always why competition is high. Everyone gets the same resources and learn everything similarly. So it depends on us on how we use it, which brings it the uniqueness of the education. So now Shrishti will be talking about the persistence part of it.
Okay, so persistence. This is the part of the positive side of Indian education. And what I would like to say is that in India, students study hard. They have this kind of mental thought process that they have to keep going no matter what, and they have to get their A grades up and just keep going, never lose hope on what they're studying. And personally, I have been through this as well. It's not that like once I go into the classroom kind of setting, it's that I just have this whole environment of teachers, students, and also the peer pressure comes into play where there's competition between kids as well. And they have this whole kind of mindset that they have to get through the studies and school no matter what, and that too together. So I think that kind of persistence that happens in Indian education is one thing that I really truly value.
Thank you so much for both of your inputs, Adarsh and Shrishti. The next slide, moving on to the next slide, which is going to be culture. And I invite Asta to talk about, the first aspect of culture.
So I was kind of looking at respect, which we thought was the American aspect of culture that we really look up to. And the thing is, we felt that respect is something that Americans kind of take to a whole new level. And there is one reason that we felt this was true. Here in America, everything we do, we have to do it ourselves. So if it's like washing the dishes or doing the laundry or cleaning the house, we're expected to do that all by ourselves. Whereas in India, a lot of times households have people who come in and do their laundry, who come in and do the dishes, who come in and clean the house. And because of that, we've kind of given these like jobs a title of higher and lower, and some jobs are better than others. And therefore, the people who don't do the better jobs are kind of looked down upon. They're not given as much as respect as people who are doing those high-end jobs. And so in the US, we don't see that because everyone is doing their own work, everyone is doing their own jobs. And so we have respect for everyone and every type of job. And we kind of bring into the idea that there is no job that is big or small and that everyone deserves an equivalent amount of respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Asta. I will be talking about religion and more on like the broad output of religion. So ever since I was small, I have been like exposed to a lot of Indian, culture, and there are ancient scriptures and Sanskrit and stuff like that. So now we have a 6,000-year-old cultural heritage, which talks about every walk of life and teaches us how to be. And then we have a 300-year-old, modern culture, which is very acceptive of such teachings. And it becomes a question for an Indian American that where am I? Like, what do I follow? So these two, cultures or ideas of thinking are parallel and they can never converge. This is what I think about it. They are parallel and they can never converge. So it is our, duty to take the good aspects of our Hindu heritage and put it into this consumeristic culture where, depression, alcoholism, and like these things are really prevalent. So to escape that, we have a way, especially for Indian Americans, we have a way. Our scriptures give us so much knowledge about that. We have such beautiful, lofty ideas about that. So it's our job to adapt those values and put it into our mainstream life. This is my thought on how Indian Americans are dealing with religion. Thank you very much. Moving on to Shrishti, who will now be talking about clothing.
Hi, okay. So clothing. I won't be talking about how Indians clothe and how Americans clothe because I feel like everybody knows about this, and this webinar would just be like an presentation, which I don't want it to be. So I'm going to talk about how teens struggle who move from India to America with this kind of fitting in, with the kind of clothing culture, and how they kind of feel with it, because I'm going to talk based on my experiences. And I would say that when I was in India, I really did not think about what I was wearing when I was going outside. I did not really think to really look presentable everywhere I go. Even if I went to like the shop next to my house, I just went in regular clothing that I was just wearing at home. And even at school, you have uniforms and stuff where you just wake up, put on the uniform that the school assigned you, and you can just go to school. But here, it's like you have to be presentable, and whenever you go outside, you just gotta look like you're part of the society. And again, this is just my experiences and how I feel. And I feel like both of the clothing cultures make sense, but I feel like if one and the other just kind of come together and work together, I feel like people would be people can, one, express themselves, because over here people clothe and dress to express themselves, and two, you can include the kind of not really wanting to fit into society all the time, not always thinking about what people think about you or judge about you, because sometimes at school, when I don't dress the part, I feel like people are judging me, kind of looking at me, and I think they are. I mean, it's okay. It's okay if they are, but it's just the kind of feeling that I get. So I just feel like the American culture of presentable and the Indian culture of really not kind of getting the kind of expression out kind of can just like mix together and become one kind of value. And I think that's how it has been for me. Another aspect of clothing is that kids these days look at each other and kind of build up on how they're clothing. And I feel like this kind of clothing culture kind of merges into the dating culture, which Aditi is going to talk about.
Thank you so much, Shrishti, for that. And as Shrishti said, now we have Aditi talking about, dating.
Yes, thank you so much. So America is more independent in beliefs. And so dating is a lot more about the experience and trying to have fun when compared to India. And so since people are more in tune with experiences and living without regret in America, dating is a lot more flexible as well. Also, when talking about dating, independence plays a big part in this. Rather than having family choose a partner, it's more about your oneself finding a partner and choosing it with your own judgment. And there's also a lot more inclusivity about as to who your partner can be. Thank you.
Kind of adding on to that, I feel like dating is also a really nice aspect of the American culture because it kind of gives you a chance to meet the person that you're planning on spending your life with or planning on sharing your life with rather. And so it gives you a chance to get to know that person, get to know your relationship a little bit more. And I know a lot of Indian families and Indian parents are not like very open about dating. Or they're not very comfortable about it. But I think that that is something that the American culture has adapted to really well.
Yeah, so before moving on to commitment, I would actually just like to add on to dating because this thought just popped up into my head. So this has kind of been going on in my head for quite a while now because I've seen a lot of Indian families where the arranged marriages just kind of don't work. But this kind of thought is just my thoughts, what I'm thinking. So when Indian parents do some arranged marriage and stuff, I feel like there should be, after the arranged kind of setting that goes on between two families, I think that there should be a sort of given time, like a more kind of dating time between the girl and the guy, just to get to know each other, kind of include the kind of dating aspect into the whole arranged marriage thing, so that the people actually get to know each other and don't really face problems later on in their lives. And if they do, they can kind of mold each other and help each other to really get through their problems. So talking about problems, I'm going to speak about commitment. Basically, what I have observed is that in USA, a lot of couples kind of, when they go through problems, they kind of just give up, and this kind of giving up leads to divorce. And obviously divorce is not such a good thing to really be going through, and Indian kind of values do not kind of promote being divorced, which I think is really good, because the Indian value basically states that if you're having problems, stick together, get through it, don't give up, because if you just give up on something, what is the point of really being committed to something that you love, something that you used to love? And honestly, I feel like this is such a good value that Indians come up with. And I'm also speaking because in many Netflix shows, in many TV shows, USA shows really kind of show that divorce and not being able to be together as a normal thing. And Indian shows really just kind of bring two people together and they just stay. So that's the kind of observation that I have been through. And I think merging the both cultures would make a difference. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. That was amazing. The next slide is about mental health, and I invite Aditi to talk about it.
Yes, thank you so much. So in America, there's a lot more awareness about mental health and mental health wellness, and there's more inclusivity in society. And this works really well for American society because since people are more open about their feelings, rather than compared to India, there's better access to resources such as medication and therapy. And to me personally, mental health is a super important topic, and it's vital to provide a comfortable space for people to be able to talk about their problems and their issues in a healthy way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Now I invite, sorry, I'm confused. Now I invite Asta to talk about lifestyle.
Thanks, Avi. So as DT said, mental health has been really well taken care of in America. And something that Indians have done really well on the health aspect is they've held a very healthy lifestyle. in comparison to Americans. And I kind of am saying this based off of some scientific data that has come out. For example, in India, for years, people use clay pots to drink, like to hold their water in, and they drink from iron cups made of iron. And recent evidence, and I'm saying recent, like 5 years ago-ish, evidence showed that this is a very healthy thing because it creates antioxidants in the water, which is really good for you and good for your body. And maybe unknowingly, but Indians have been doing this for like hundreds, thousands of years now. And it's something that we've incorporated into our lifestyle, which I think is very healthy. Other things that are really nice about the Indian lifestyle is that in India, people are more likely to walk to places. And I understand that there is like an economic aspect that comes into this, but regardless of that, Indians have maintained walking to distances rather than riding their car everywhere, or they might bike somewhere instead of taking, you know, their vehicle. And so I feel like this is something that Indians have taken on very well and created a very healthy lifestyle overall for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. What Asta said is so true. So she spoke about like the scientific side of the lifestyle and health. I'm going to talk about kind of the social side, and this is kind of my experience. In India, if I'm going through a problem and kind of a situation, my neighbors would know. They would really come to say, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? We're there for you, kind of thing. And Indian society is kind of a more kind of neighborly, a whole neighborhood is kind of like a family. Over here, if I have a problem and if I'm going through something, I can't really tell anyone other than my family, like who, okay, I can hire a therapist, but is anybody going to like come out of their houses, come out of their ways to really come and say, hey, what's up? Are you doing okay? How have you been? Why are you facing any problems, kind of thing? No, they're not going to say that because the USA kind of lifestyle has been kind of independent and more individuality has been brought up here. But the Indian lifestyle kind of is more, you know, you call every older person you see auntie or uncle. And I think that's kind of a really, really nice system to just kind of make everyone your family that you see, because after all, this whole world, people in the world are just one big family. So I think that that's a really, really healthy kind of lifestyle.
Thank you so much for that, Shrishti. So whatever Shrishti said brings us to our next slide, actually, which is society. And I invite others to talk about, the first aspect of society.
Yes, so I will be talking about the support, which is the left side, and this is there's more people in Indian society that are willing to help you. There's a family support system where there's like 10 people supporting you and there's 10 people contradicting you. And if you're making the wrong decision, there are gonna be people contradicting you. So you need to think it through and fix it. The decision being good or bad, there's always people beside you. For example, in like someone's death and you really need to get over it, there will be people beside you to help you get through it. Or during marriages or a big festival, you need to prepare for that big festival. So there will be people to help you prepare for that big festival. Even if someone gets in trouble, like in a court of law, family will always be there to support that person. Or someone in society gets in big trouble, there's people from that society to support that person. There's always this oneness and bond that cannot be broken. The community will stand up with you whether you live there or not due to the numerous connections that they have. So you never have to worry about being alone. In America, there's a lot of loneliness, which leads to depression. Yes, there's a lot of friends and family to enjoy with the form and form bonds, but in my opinion, you don't really see people outside to interact with. In India, there's so many people walking around at any time. Even if you ask someone randomly for help, they are ready to do so. And like Shrishti said, even if you have any problems or you're facing any situation, they will find out eventually due to the numerous connections. So now back to Abhi.
Thank you for that, Adarsh. I will be talking about acceptance in the American society. So my personal experience has been when I was like in India, I was a very artsy person in the sense I used to love singing, dancing, acting, and I used to want to be in like theater and stuff like that. When over there, the standards are not that. Like, people do not expect you to do that. Then, for example, people will ask you, even career wise, are you going to become an engineer or are you going to become a doctor? There's these like standard questions that are being like thrown across to you, and when you answer, I'm thinking in my head, none of that. That's not for me. But so it's hard for Indian society to understand what you want. Whereas in an American society over here, when I was in like school, people accepted me quickly. That is, even if I was a theater student, if I was singing, dancing, anything. And even in the American society, it's okay if you're not like very good in your education, education wise, because everyone is different and they have their own capacities. But this is something that the Indian, culture still needs to, still needs awareness about, that like marks are not everything. So these are like two standards of ideas or thinking. Thank you for that. So the next part of this whole presentation is a question and answer session. So we want all of our audience out there to put your thoughts in the chat section below, give us questions, even those who are on YouTube Live. Just throw your thoughts in the chat section below and give us your questions and comments. So do we have any questions from our Zoom attendees over here? Does anyone have any?
Or YouTube attendees?
Yeah, I'll just quickly pop in here, but I want to Mr. Narayana Swamy. He has been in US for the last 30 years, and he has been an author for youth book, as far as I can recollect from yesterday's quick introduction. So can I ask you to comment or share your views, Mr. Narayana?
Thank you, Julian. So proud of all of you. It is very professionally organized and presented, each one of you, starting from the self-introductions to sticking to the topic and very keen, concise observations on each of the topics. Honestly, if the opportunity arises, I would like to see you exploring each of these topics by itself in depth. They're worth it. Let us consider this a starting point. And I found it, I don't know how this particular team came together. I kind of joined this a little bit at the last minute, but I find it very amusing and very interesting that a couple of you have had very significant India exposure, whereas some of you were pretty much born and raised in US. I don't want to go too much into detail, but I also did both hopping. I spent first 25 years of my life in India, then came to the US as a graduate student, as many of your parents might have done. And then right smack in the middle of it, I gave up everything in US, packed up lock, stock, and barrel, and shifted back to India, and then worked there for a couple of years. And then some things changed in my life that required me to come back to the US, and so I'm back here again. So I straddled both worlds, and I totally share a lot of things you're saying as perceptions of both cultures. It is particularly amusing and very interesting after you spend some time abroad, no matter wherever else in the country, wherever else in the world. And then after some time, you go back to India, not just as a visitor, but actually to spend working time or school time in the country. It gives you a completely different perspective, totally different perspective. From people's reactions, it is very funny. It's very funny. I was walking around in my born town or hometown of Vijayawada, This totally stranger on the street accosts me and he asks me, where are you from? And I said, I'm very much from here. And he doesn't believe me. He doesn't believe me. So I get it in the sense that the 12 or 15 years I had already spent abroad by that time changed something in me fundamentally. I was dressed like him. I was walking like him. I could speak fluent Telugu just like him, but he spotted something in me that is different. You know, America definitely changes you, right? So you guys are awesome. Really proud of all of you. Very happy to be part of this thing, this whole venture. I hope we'll continue to talk about these things and kind of take this to, you know, logical conclusion somehow, you know. Maybe this can become a statewide or even a nationwide conversation among Indian American youth. Let's see what we can do, all right? So, and apart from that, the very best to each and every one of you. One last thing. Several of you made a comment about Indian values versus American values. If at all possible, I want you guys to state what do you feel is the Indian values and what do you feel are the American values. I'll be muted and I actually need to jump off and join a work meeting shortly, but I will catch up with you guys on the YouTube recording. And again, all the very best to all of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Swami. And I mean, I cannot agree more on that part, that each topic as they were discussing, I was feeling, yes, it needs each day of full discussion and, you know, delving deep into it. But thank you so much for joining in and for your valuable comments. And here we have a very interesting question from Lakshmi Satish. Do you feel benefited or burdened from the two cultures? Abhinav, that's a question from.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, Lakshmi, she's my mommy. So
okay.
My mommy and my cousin, that's Lakshmi mommy and Satish mama and Samyukta. So I would like to hand over this question to Adarsh because he can make a very good point on this question.
Oh, thank you, Javi. I don't feel, I mean, I feel more benefited than burdened. I wouldn't say burdened because that's like a very negative word. But however, knowing the Indian values and American values, which I think we're going to get to a bit later, is more like opening up your mind, your eyes to see various ideas and more problems, no, not problems, more solutions to the problems that we're facing in our day-to-day life. Yes, both cultures have their own limits. They have their own ideas, but I would say that you don't want to limit yourself by just looking at the Indian values and seeing those solutions, or looking at the American values. Looking at both of them together, you can inherit them and make it more make it suited for you as a person and use it in a way that can well benefit you. Yeah, for example, for school and everything, when we have different festivals in America or different festivals in India, we kind of give those ideas to other people as well, and we share them, and that kind of brings in the diversity and the different friendships that you get from this. So, yeah.
I'd like to add on to that actually. You know, I feel like every culture has certain values that are really nice and then certain values that can be very stressful with them. And so I feel both India and America has values, certain that are good and certain that are bad. And the best part about being an Indian American is we kind of have the right to pick and choose what we feel is best for the situation. And sometimes, you know, there are values from both cultures that are kind of benefiting us. And that only helps us because not every problem has one solution. You can have more than one solution to each problem. And having both Indian and American values to support you, gives you a wider variety of options to kind of pick from and see where you are and what you can do to make the situation better. So yes, there are times when we feel burdened with the values, but most of the time they kind of show us a benefit and give us more solutions to our problems.
Yeah, definitely what Asta said. So for me, basically, it was at first when I moved to USA from India, both the times I've moved, it was a burden because I was not sure where I was going to belong, kind of in the between of Indian and American culture, because I was kind of this person where I went to school and I was all like, yeah, American culture, yay. But then I came back home and I was just this Indian girl that I was back in India. And then I realized that's not the way to go. I have to be myself. I have to be who I am and just hope that society accepts me wherever I am. Because at this point, I have adapted to two cultures, Indian and American. And so by going with the flow, it just kind of benefited me into making the person I am. There is no burden anymore. And just to like realize the fact that being yourself, being accepted by the society shouldn't matter to you as much, because as long as you know that you were the person you wanted to be, that's all that matters. No more burden.
Adding on to what Shrishti said, I feel it's a blessing, to go on these two cultures, because we have the opportunity to learn from two cultures, and one culture being, so deep in philosophy and rich in its culture and heritage, and one culture being so accepting and so, motivating to make us do what we want to do. So it's definitely not a burden, because we are being benefited by mixing these two values, and we are trying to, improve ourselves in ways that, many people won't understand. So it's definitely not a burden. And I feel like, as Srishti said, as Asta and others said, we are trying to like have a good mix of both of these, values and cultures. And as Srishti said, we're trying to be ourselves at the end of the day. We're trying to create a stamp of identity for ourselves with these two cultures. So that's what I find it's very important. Thank you.
And to add on to that, especially since I've lived in America solely for my entire life, it's definitely been a struggle to accept one culture versus the other. But I've definitely, especially just recently, I've especially tried to incorporate both cultures into my own life and to try to accept both rather than just only stick to one value system or one other value system. And it's definitely been a struggle, but it definitely is a rewarding system as well. Thank you.
Wow, what good observations. Anyone else wants to answer? And what a beautiful question. We all sometimes we just cannot frame the question properly, but this was like the right question that many of us already had in mind and we were not able to put in. So here comes one from Arjun. So hi, my name is Arjun, and in relation to my thoughts about who we want to be in America, I had a quote that I really wanted to share. If you are bad, I am your dad. Aditi, how do you as an American Indian relate to this quote? Personally, I feel this quote overall sums up my experiences in America. Aditi?
Yeah, that is an interesting quote. To be honest, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but
I think I can give you a bit of context. Arjun, thank you very much. I'm pretty sure you got this from the movie KGF. But Aditi can continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this question is, to be honest, I've never watched that movie, so I'm not exactly sure of the context, but I mean, my experiences in America overall are very, like I said, I've sticked with a lot of independent values, so I don't know how this relates exactly to the quote, but I can say that in America, I have definitely experienced a lot more independent values and allow more independent experiences. So thank you.
Yeah, Adarsh, if you want to just, add on to that, please go ahead if you think you can add a value.
No, I don't have much to say.
Okay. So,
Auntie, can I just add one thing?
sure.
I want to touch on what Narayana Swami Shankaragiri Garu just like asked us about what are Indian and American values, by just giving like a slight example of each. Can I just go ahead with that? You don't mind?
Sure. Absolutely.
So to touch upon the idea of Indian values or American values, one example that I have experienced is that we, in our culture and our heritage, we always stick to the saying Atiti Devo Bhava, right? Which means our guests are equivalent to God. So the moment a guest comes in, our whole family is in the hall and we welcome the guest and we ask them if they want water. And suddenly my mom would go into the kitchen and then we would start cooking food and like, you want something to eat, or you want chai, or you want coffee, and like basically welcoming the guest and feeling like the kid would come down from his room from studying and literally get interrupted, but he would like to come and say hello to the guests. So I feel like that is like one of the like examples of what Indian value means, at least to me. This is my view of it.
Yeah, just kind of adding on to that, obedience plays a role in Indian values. Huge respect towards elders. That's actually one of the main things that I've experienced. No matter what kind of person the person is, the elders are, I kind of give respect no matter what, because they're elders. And I don't know if there's a saying, but there's something like elders are always like kind of God. Abhi, you might know.
Matra Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava, from the Taittiriya Upanishad.
Dads, and yes. So respect towards them is a huge thing in India. I also wanted to say that Indian value, obviously, as we went over everything, support system, amazing in for Indian values. Now coming to American values, I feel like Aditi can talk about it.
I mean, yeah, for American values, I mean, there's just so much that in contrast to Indian values, like I've mentioned repeatedly, like, the independent values and just focusing more on experiences and stuff like that. And I believe Asta has something to say here too, so she can definitely add on as well.
Something that I've kind of noticed between Indian and American values, and again, this is completely just based off of observations that I've made, but a lot of times American values are focused on us and like how we can grow as an individual and how we can make ourselves better and grow as an independent person. And it's the idea that like, if you're going to compete against anyone, you should compete against yourself, which I think is a really great value in America. In India, on the other hand, I have often noticed that the value kind of bases off of society. And this is where it can kind of go two ways. So the people who view society as a competition, they end up, fighting against society, and then they constantly compare against society. Whereas in India, if you're not doing, if you're not competing against society, the other option would be how to make society better. So instead of focusing on just you as an individual, you focus on the betterment of society as well, which again, it's kind of like if you're making a higher level statement, it's going to confuse more people. But sometimes I just feel like they're both really great values and very well rooted in both cultures. But you kind of really have to see where that takes you and how you view that, because if you can even view the American value of growing as yourself wrong, because that might make you seem like a selfish person sometimes. But regardless, if you view either of those values in the correct way, you're only going to help society.
Yeah, going off of what Asta said, like growing from society versus growing from within yourself. Yes, you do see a lot of growing from society in India, but you also see it here due to a lot of competition. Some people just get really attached to the competition and they want to like just earn it for themselves, just the victory part of it. However, it's very important that like people look into themselves, what they like. That's also very good about the culture, in my opinion. in terms of people being open to various options and being flexible with what they're doing, especially what we see in college and on. Obviously, the graduates can talk about this more. But what I've seen is that once you get into college with the mindset that you're open to several options, you can venture out to see different parts of it, and you can apply that to your own career. Whereas in some people, they're very narrow-minded, I would say, and it just doesn't end well because having a broad mindset is much more beneficial.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
sorry,
oh,
sorry.
sorry. No, go ahead.
To kind of like tie that all up, I just want to say, like, we're all people. There shouldn't be like differences like, hey, you're American culture, you don't fit in with us. That should not be there. I just want to point out, like, whitewashed Indians plus Indian Indians. There is this difference between schools, and I don't think that is necessary to have a difference between any culture at all. And as Asta said, taking the good parts from each culture and implementing it into the person that we are is what is going to make a good society. And more of the people with the with the broader mindset that Adarsh talked about, and sorry, what am I trying to say? Okay, if we have more people with the same broad mindset as what we were talking about, the world will be a better place. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for those wonderful answers. And we have a very specific question from Srini. As a kid, what is something you convinced your mom or dad about something you probably didn't agree initially? Very specific. Okay, go ahead.
There are a lot of things to talk about here. For instance, my hair. It is highlighted a little bit. And I asked my parents at the first time, can I do it? And then they were like, no, are you dumb? You will look like you don't respect anyone with that hair. But then as time moved on, my parents realized that it's okay. It's a way to express myself. Now they took the broad mindset of the American culture and put it with kind of like the Indian values. And they created this whole broad mindset where they allowed me to have my hair highlighted and actually fit in with the society. But also they kept it to like a kind of minimum where I just get like brown highlights and not go all out with blue. But this took time and convincing to really work out with my parents. And this is just one of the aspects that I had to kind of convince my parents with.
And with that topic, I cannot stop myself from sharing with something that happened recently, that I have a 10-year-old who said that I color my hair, and I'm thinking that what did I do wrong that she can even ask at 10 that can I color my hair? And the first thing came to my mind, you know how harmful the hair colors are. Your hair will fall, and this happens and that happens. And so she said that you never colored your hair in your life, right? So I said, no, never, and not at 10, of course. So, but you are losing hair like anything. Every time you're depressed about it and you're losing hair. So how did that happen? And I didn't have an answer. So, wow, what a thing to be. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Adi, definitely what I was going to say is that, there is an age limit for this. I am 17. So that's where it kind of
it came to her mind. I mean, but I didn't have that solution. Did not work. That's what I meant. Like, your hair will fall off. Yeah. Okay, others, please, if you want to have a quick say. We are, yeah. Hello.
Does anybody else want to share, or are we?
Yeah, you guys go ahead. It just popped in my mind, so I shared. Yeah, go ahead with that answer.
I don't think we. Wait, Asta, you have something to say?
Oh no, you can go ahead if you want to.
No, I don't have anything to say. That's why.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say something that my parents have kind of come, like we've kind of discussed this as a family, and I personally used to not agree with this topic, but now I do, and I've over time I've convinced my parents of this. But the idea of live-in relationships, which I know is like, that's a very controversial topic both here and in India, but something that me and my parents were discussing, obviously when I grew older. This is not something that was discussed when I was younger, but ever since I turned like maybe 15 or 16, I was like, maybe, it's not a bad thing to consider live-in relationships as an option, because the thing is, a lot of times in life, you have to make that decision about what's right and what's wrong. And you can't make that decision without knowing about both topics in like detail. You should know, if you're going to make a decision, you should know about that decision all the way through. And so as a kid, I used to be super against the idea of like live-in relationships and, being together before getting married. Because I guess that was what was, that's what I had seen, or that was kind of what was drilled into my head. But then over time, as I kind of think about it and I think of myself and I put myself in those shoes, I was like, I would like to know how I'm going to live and who I'm going to live with. And I want to know them all the way through. And so, me and my parents had this conversation. It was like one of those random dinner table conversations that we had, but we talked about it. And that was something that we all agreed on, that, it's not a bad thing to consider live-in relationships because it gives you a chance to know your partner. But yeah.
Yeah, so just adding on to what Asta said, and as I said before, it's the kind of, well, not completely, my statement isn't completely what Asta just said, but it's like, you need to know who you're going to live with before you actually live with the person. So as I said before, when your parents do this arranged marriage kind of thing, not instantly taking that marriage kind of step, why? You have a lot of time, you're going to live a long life. Why just jump into this marriage thing? And if it doesn't work out, it's just not a whole kind of good situation. So you'd probably just want to, get arranged or whatever, if that's what your parents want to do, and then get to know the person completely. Get to know the person, do whatever you got to do. Go, ask them how they are as a person, not just, oh yeah, they're making this much money. No, that's not what it is. I know we're not like at that adult level to talk about this completely yet, but these are just our kind of thoughts, because obviously we're planning for the future. We're going to college. We already have to plan what we're going to do as a career, and obviously that's such a big kind of burden on our heads. See, this is the burden that's on our heads these days, not even the cultural differences, college burdens. So to have to really plan our futures also leads into the kind of relationship thing. So yeah.
So anybody else wants to take it up, or are we good?
Yeah, I think there are more questions. Julian, if you can see the chat.
Yeah. Here it said, Karthik, I feel like India is very competitive, like who has the best child, but in America, he is who he is. Yeah, Asta answered it. That's very true. We have also felt that and agreed with that. That's something we really appreciate in America. There is less comparison. Anybody wants to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just also kind of want to add on that even Indians here has the competition between their kids. I see all these uncles asking me, what is my GPA? What is my SAT score? And yeah, sometimes it's kind of annoying to me, but it's also sad for their kids. Like, if they have a higher GPA or higher ACT score, they're gonna go torture their kids. Like, look, Shristi has a higher GPA, and the same thing happens to me. If my parents get to know that somebody else is like going to U of M and I'm just going to wait and sit, they're like, oh, they're going to U of M, they're doing doctorate. But the thing that shouldn't happen, but it still does. So I mean, yeah, they kind of brought that Indian value into here, America. So there's that. It happens here too.
I would like to add on to that, because whatever Shrishti said is really true. It's not that America does not have competition. There is competition, but it's very controlled. It's not on a greater level, It's still not progress as much as India has progressed. Because I feel like in India, as Karthik ji said, we push students to do the best and but then that adds on so much stress, tension, pressure And that's slowly the trend is rising in America too, for that, like as Shrishti said, SAT, ACT, GPA scores. But at the end of the day, it's so important to realize that you have your own capability and you have to try. That's no question. You have your own capability and you have to play according to that, because pushing yourself all the way, you don't want to reach a dead end. So that's very important. Again, this is like Aditi's topic, mental health, coming to that. It all comes under mental health. So as Karthik ji said, I feel like, Americans, we are much, we feel like, our kids are who they are and we accept that, which is a very good thing and needs to start happening in India, is what my opinion is.
Yeah, and I also just want to say that my parents really don't, they have come to like this kind of situation where they don't really push me to get marks and everything. My dad's kind of philosophy is that as long as I understand the topic that I'm learning at school, that's enough, because he knows that I'll implement it in my life later on. If I get a B, if I even get a C, my dad's like, it's okay. Do you understand the topic? Yes, because he knows that I make careless mistakes, and I feel like everybody does because we're people. So pushing for marks, if a kid doesn't get an A+, don't harass the kid, please. Just saying, because that's kind of one of the American values that we kind of implemented into our life, is that if a person does not kind of get to what they're kind of doing, to like an A+ or something, don't push them harder. If they don't like it, they don't like it. They will do singing, they'll do art, they'll do dance, something else. Push them towards what they like.
Kind of deviating from that just a little bit, another thing that we've noticed between like Indian and American cultures is that a lot of times the reason this comparison happens in India between like how your grades are and whose child is doing better, we notice that this kind of happens because everything is based on grades. Everything is based on like the academics only. Whereas here, colleges, like right now, me, Srishti, Aditi, we're all high school graduates and we've all already applied to college. And something that we all were, asked about was, what are other things you do? They look at everything you do. It's not just about grades. It's about extracurriculars. It's about what are you interested in? What are your interests? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? What other things have you participated in outside of academics? And I think that kind of lessens the competition in general, because, you're not, we understand that people are good at different things, and that's more to life than just what are you studying and what are your grades. And that kind of automatically lowers the competition in our heads, because like I can't compare myself to Srishti and say, oh my god, I have higher grades or something, because this girl sings at every concert you can imagine and she's an amazing person, and that all counts. It's not just about her grades.
It goes back to you. I can't compare myself with you. You're an amazing dancer, bro. So we're different people, but we're good at different things, and that doesn't make us one is better than the other. That's not what it is. So yeah.
Yeah, I would just a wonderful point, Astha, wonderful point, I must say, to keep us all on track and why we do it, what we do. That's that was so nicely answered. Okay, so Shriji says, thanks all for your views, for my question. Pranav, what is the most stressful thing in your life? Okay, Srini, a quick vote with the 5 panelists. Would they vote on burger or biryani? Question from Viji. And there was a comment here from Bhaskar Rayavaram. Just came in to appreciate the young leaders for speaking their heart out. Very powerful to hear from them. All the best to them. Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Yeah, so can we answer that question from Vijay?
I would like to say
I pick biryani.
No, okay. If biryani has vegetables in it and no meat, it's called pulao. Okay, just putting that out there.
This is specifically said to call me out, because
no, I didn't know.
I'm vegetarian and I am eating biryani for lunch today, and Adarsh keeps telling me that it's pulao, not biryani. But you know what? Same thing.
Absolutely.
I wish, sorry. Since pulao is like the vegetarian version of biryani, I would put it under the same brackets of biryani and I would go for biryani. It's anytime better than a burger. it's more, comforting.
I actually would prefer a burger, to be honest. That's just my personal opinion. Like I love biryani, but I would have to say if I got the burger from the right place, I would choose that.
Ooh, place
Honestly,
matters. Where you
I
get it
do agree
from.
with Aditi. If you get the burger from the right place, it's definitely much better. However, finding a good burger is very hard, and you can just make it yourself. However, it also depends on my mood on that day. If I want to eat biryani, I will go for that. But if I want a burger, I'll go for that. If I want both together, I will do something about it.
Okay, so I'm a foodie and I'm gonna eat both. Give me whatever, I'll eat it.
What Shrishti said.
Biryani burger.
Kind of coming back to Pranav's question here, which is what is the most stressful thing in your life?
Right.
Right now, the most stressful thing in my life is kind of coping, actually. That's probably the most stressful thing in my life right now because of COVID and quarantine and everything. It's kind of difficult to cope with everything. And, for us 2020 seniors, graduation got canceled. So that was like the first big thing that we had to deal with. And then now there's chances that our first semester of college is probably going to be completely online and not going to be on campus, which really, really sucks because you're missing out on that college experience. So now we're kind of coping with that. But yeah, so it's kind of just like adapting is probably the hardest thing or the most stressful thing in my life right now.
So in my life, it would be me balancing work and friendships, like relationship friendships, because I kind of give more priority towards friendships, and then my work kind of just goes down. So that's a stressful thing because I have to always balance and prioritize. That's something that I have to work on.
For me, for most stressful, I would just say that due to this coronavirus and COVID-19, yes, we talked about managing time last week. I would just say the fact that we don't know what's coming up next, and also there's so many extracurricular activities that need a lot of preparation, especially like band, swimming, dancing, all that stuff. It needs a lot of preparation going into the year, and the fact that we don't know if it's happening or not just puts a lot of stress. Yes, we're preparing for it, getting ready for it, but the fact that it won't happen or the notion that it won't happen is just very saddening and kind of stressful.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, I'm going to be going to college in the fall. The most stressful thing right now for me is deciding if I'm going to go to campus or not. It's a big decision that I need to make with my family still. And it's because there's financial aspects to look at, but there's also health issues to look at, and there's also relationship issues to look at. So, since there's so many different areas that we need to really look at, that's causing me and my whole family a lot of stress right now.
For me, something like that stresses me. My stress is like really periodical, so it like depends on what's coming in the near future. So if it's like an exam, I would stress out for the exam. If it's this presentation, I would stress out for this, whole presentation, because coming in front of, talking to all of you is like such a nice experience, and I have to be like, like I have to be at my best. But like right now, one thing that stresses me is what happens to school. What's the future of my school? How is my education gonna go after here from here? How are the SATs gonna happen? Just very like those kind of small I'm just stressing about those kind of stuff. But yeah, that's my stress at the moment.
Okay, so we have thank you for all your inputs. And we have here a solution for your veg pulao and biryani sort. So Kartik says, just call pulao veg biryani. Yes, it's fair enough. Yeah, good. So any other questions? Any other comments? Because we are 18 minutes past the hour. So we are really deep into, and we want to explore more, ask more questions. I have a list of questions, but I think this absolutely needs another session to continue with the topic. But for right now, we would like to end the session here with one thing that after hearing from all of you, after whatever we could engulf in this little bit time, is one thing that it's super illuminating. It's knowing the facts that what we face, it's not only personal to us, but it's in general, and we can work it out. And it would be fair enough to say that we can, if we want, we can have the best of both the worlds. So we cannot deny the deep tradition that Indian culture is. We cannot deny the innovation, the hub of innovation and innovative ideas that America provides. So we cannot deny both, and that beautiful amalgamation is what we can do it individually, and as in the long run we'll definitely see in society happening. And for an example, I can give that amalgamation has already started with the Namaste. We cannot forget that how Namaste is such an Indian culture, and it's been adapted and have to be followed right now. So we are into it. And again, if we are talking today, we are able to see each other through this innovation, through Zoom, through social media. We cannot ignore the innovation part of the side, a part of the culture either. So absolute fantastic presentation, all the youths here. Thank you so much. Thank you, each one of you, Aditi, Astha, Shrishti, Adarsh, Abhinav, and we absolutely loved having you in both the sessions. We would want to have you each week, but I know it's your time is precious, and we will definitely have give other youths, other teens their opportunity as well to come up with ideas. So we would highly ask parents, the students who have joined in, to put in their ideas to, if they want to be part of this Let Us Talk It youth webinar, then please email us at webinar@letustalkit.com, or you can just contact me directly or Srini, and then we'll give you more information. And as far as our webinars go, our professional webinars of Let Us Talk It professional webinars happen every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. EST. And on Fridays, we have Let Us Talk It youth webinar. And for next coming Tuesday, we have an exciting topic of professional webinar, how to manage your documents, the document retention, what business owners need to know. And with that, we end this session. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, audience, for joining in.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
And the questions, they were made us think more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.